Welcome, everyone. I hope you're off to a great start to the school year. As I mentioned, we've had fewer special ed update meetings this year, but I do still have information that I need to get out to you. So I wanted to try this approach. I would love your feedback on this. If you like being able to do this on your time at your location, let me know that. But if you prefer to meet face to face, let me know that as well, and I will consider that as I make future plans. So the first update is about the special ed licensure cohort. Sorry for the last minute notice on this, but we will be having an informational meeting for anybody interested in this cohort starting this coming Tuesday night at the Southern Plains office this Tuesday. But if anybody misses that meeting, that's not a problem. They can certainly just let me or let Megan know that they are interested. As we get this program up and rolling, people are welcome to, or just need to let us know, and we will get information out to you. This is just an informational meeting. It will not necessarily be that people have to commit at this point in time. So anybody with a bachelor's degree in anything is certainly welcome to participate in this cohort. Or if you're looking at adding a licensure in any area, this would be a great opportunity to participate and get some credits. It would achieve a master's degree, so that may be something people would be interested in as well. A quick reminder for all of you is that all files should be moved on to the new building. So if you have a student that you case managed last year and you don't anymore, but you still have some of the associated files, please move those on so that all the records stay together. So I've heard some situations where maybe the red classification file got moved on to the case manager, but not the historical files. Those historical pieces also need to get moved on. And also, if you transition students in buildings from 6th grade and they move on to a new building in 7th grade, any of the records for students that would be going into 7th grade this year should also be moved on. So maybe a student has moved out of the district, or a student was discontinued from services. Those files should move on to the new building as well. Also, a reminder about autism spectrum disorder license. Starting in July of 2015, any student whose primary disability is autism, if they are kindergarten or older, they need to have a student, a case manager, or somebody on the IEP team, somebody on the IEP team who's licensed in autism spectrum disorder or the new ABS license, academic and behavioral strategist. So if the primary disability is ASD, somebody needs to be involved in that case, licensed in either autism spectrum or academic and behavioral strategist. So we do need a few more people licensed in autism spectrum. If you've thought about this and adding this license, it would be a great time to really pursue that. If you have something that's a barrier for you and you are interested, but maybe you're nervous that if you do that, you would get all of the students with autism on your caseload and that's not an interest to you, or something else that was concerning, please let me know. We can talk through that and see if we can find some solutions to that or any other reservations you have. And the last general update I have for you is about the bullying bill. I attached a letter for you with some general guidance. Overall, I want you to be aware if a student is susceptible to bullying, that should be discussed at the IEP team. So if a student is likely to be bullied, the team should talk about ways that could be mitigated. Perhaps the student needs some training on what is bullying and how to handle that. Or maybe there needs to be some training for the student on how to avoid those types of situations. Or maybe we need to do some schedule changes so that the student is not placed in those situations where bullying is happening. Or maybe the bullies need to be addressed or something that way. But if you need to do some kind of training related to bullying, I wanted to make you aware of some resources. I have already seen some situations where people are doing training on bullying, and bravo to you. But we know that some of our students are more susceptible to this because they don't always understand what bullying is. So we have the health, what is it, Safe Boundaries curriculum at the Southern Plains office. I know some of the districts have purchased it themselves, but we do have it available for checkout at the office as well. There are 4 courses associated with the Safe Boundaries curriculum. You can see course 2 really particularly does address teasing and bullying, but a lot of the other courses would address many of the associated issues that come with this as well. So be aware, particularly for the autism spectrum disorder or the low cognitive students, this would be really helpful and is an area of concern with bullying. I patched all the new procedural safeguards. Sorry, I didn't know they had come out earlier, but they are new. It doesn't appear as though there's any real significant changes. If you've already made your copies for the year, I don't know that it's that vital of an issue, but the procedural safeguards are available online. They are not available in SPED forms yet. They came out after SPED forms did their last update. So those should be coming out here in the next month or so on SPED forms as well, but you can print them off of the website. There have been some questions on the annotated versus non-annotated version. If you go to the MDE website, they have a version that's called annotated. Basically, that's the procedural safeguards, and then throughout it, it cites the laws that are the reasons relevant to that piece of the procedural safeguards. So if you're interested in some interesting reading, you can go refer back to that. But for the parents, we typically use the non-annotated because it's shorter and we don't want to overwhelm parents. Another piece that comes up about the procedural safeguards is there used to be a parochial school procedural safeguard. That is no longer in SPED forms. MDE was not happy that we had this alternative version of the procedural safeguards. I disagree with MDE, but they want us to be using the same procedural safeguards for all students. They want us to use the Part B procedural safeguards. That's for all students, ages 3 through 12. There is also the Part C, which is birth to 3 procedural safeguards on the website as well. This year, and frankly several times at CPI training, also this came up during some of the negotiations, some concerns that way. I wanted to bring a few concerns that paraprofessionals have brought forward. They are very concerned that they are not aware when students have schedule changes. Maybe the class has decided to take a field trip and go for a 2-mile walk someday, or other types of schedule changes. If paraprofessionals aren't aware of those changes, they are not able to notify the students, and then that often leads to behavior issues. So this is a good chance for you to stop and think about each of the paraprofessionals that you have and how are they made aware of the different types of schedule changes. And it might be a good time to send a reminder out to classroom teachers or that type of thing to make sure that paraprofessionals are made aware when schedule changes are happening. Also, be sure that paraprofessionals have access to the behavior plans and the IEPs. This is very alarming to me that this continues to come up, that they don't have access to those. You don't have to necessarily give them a copy because there are concerns about confidentiality. You could give them a copy as long as you're clear with them. They should not take them home and they should be stored in a location that is secure. But you could also just have a copy of them in your classroom somewhere where the paraprofessionals can access them. Paraprofessionals should have access to behavior plans and IEPs. Also, there is a difference between a guide and a restraint. Paraprofessionals are being told they should not touch students at all. That's not true. Sometimes it is appropriate to do a guide. Maybe for a kindergartner, it would be appropriate to take their hand and help walk them down the hallway. If we're not tugging on them or pulling them or they're not fighting against us, that's very acceptable. Or sometimes we just can help students by just placing their hand, excuse me, on the back of a student to help gear them in the direction they need to go. There are certainly situations where touching students is okay. If you have questions about that or you're having discussions as teams of if is this okay or is this okay, be sure to talk to your CPI trainers or call Stephanie Schmitz, and she can help. They can help you differentiate what is okay and what is not okay. Quick reminder about October 1st. We need you to complete, make sure SPED Forms is completely up to date as close as possible on October 1st. And we need you to send to Marsha Malo a copy of your combined report, a copy of your workload analysis, a copy of your schedule, and please don't forget this, a copy of the paraprofessional schedules for all of the paraprofessionals you work with, however you guys decide to do it within your buildings. We do need a copy of all paraprofessional schedules. We will be monitoring this more closely this year, and it doesn't make me happy when I have to have people chasing you down. So please, 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 please make an effort to get this done. Thank you for your work with it. I wanted to make you aware of some pieces we're adding to the Southern Plains website. So here's the Southern Plains website. Those will pull up. We're trying to add more and more resources out there for you. For example, we are adding the new teacher handouts. So if you go to Learning Opportunities, you scroll down to New Teacher Training. Lisa does a fabulous job with these trainings and is gradually adding the handouts as they meet once a month, adds the handouts to that website. So even though you may not be participating in those, it certainly would be a good idea to go check out. This last month they talked about the tool of the week and the dating game. So some helpful resources. I do hope to add additional items and we'll try to let you know on those as well. Now, if you do not work with state testing, particularly early childhood, you don't have to listen to the rest of this presentation. K through 2, there are no real changes there, so you wouldn't need to listen to this presentation either. But there are some changes with the MCA state testing. So the MCA is still given in the same years. You can see where the red diagonals are. Those are when diamonds, excuse me, when the MCA test is given. The MCA-M is gone, as we've talked about. So students either need to take the MTAS or the MCA, but the MTAS does have the same criteria as it has had in the past. Students do have to have low cognitive skills in order to take the MTAS, and so we need to make sure we're still following that. Otherwise, students need to take the MCA. The MCA is going to be required that all school districts have to do this online. However, there is a paper test of the MCA is an accommodation that the IEP team could determine would be appropriate. The green boxes show you when ELL testing is done, which is every year. Just be sure to communicate with your ELL teacher regarding that if you have any students you feel that could fall in that category. The Explore and the Plan tests have previously been optional tests that were given in 8th and 10th grade. They are now required that all school districts have to give the Explore and the Plan. If a student takes the MTAS, then they would be exempt from taking the Explore and the Plan. There's also an assessment called the Compass. It is based on students' previous completion of the MCA and the Explore or Plan tests. And MDE goes through and determines which students should take the Compass. If it is determined that a student needs to take the Compass in 10th grade, they have to take that test in order to graduate. This year, there will also be students taking it in 11th grade, and this year it is optional that students don't have to take the Compass in order to graduate, but if they are assigned to take it in 10th grade, they do have to take that. The ACT is now required for all 11th graders. If a student takes the MTAS, they don't have to take the ACT test. The ACT will be given on April 28th to all juniors. If for some reason a student can't take it, they will take it on May 12th. And then if they have extended time on the test, they would take it sometime between April 28th and May 12th. But accommodations on the ACT are quite a bit different and different than we've dealt with in the past. Please work with your district assessment coordinators on this because there will be updates on all of this as we progress. But if a student is taking the ACT, you have to apply. It actually has to be the school district that applies for accommodations. ACT determines which students are able to use which accommodations. You request them, but ACT actually makes the application, makes the determination. You're not able to apply for accommodations until October. Your school district has to first apply to be a school day administration site for the ACT. So they are in the process, your district assessment coordinator is in the process of applying to be a school day administration site at this time. Perhaps you've previously been a Saturday administration site. They have a new application they have to do at this time. As soon as that is done, then the school district is able to apply for ACT accommodations. You should do that early because often ACT will contact you back and ask for additional information. And if you wait until April, they're not going to have time to request that information. If a student does not qualify for ACT accommodations, there is an alternative route called the Minnesota accommodations. The head of the testing department spoke at a meeting I was at a week ago, and at that time they did not yet have any idea how we would apply for Minnesota accommodations. That process has not been determined yet. So again, keep in touch with your district assessment coordinator. So I think that was everything regarding the ACTs. Again, please communicate with your district assessment coordinator regarding that. Oh, be aware if we use Minnesota accommodations, that process has not been determined yet. And if a student takes the ACT using Minnesota accommodations, colleges cannot use that score in determining college eligibility. So be aware of that piece, and that'll be an important piece to communicate to parents. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to drop me an email, and have a great school year.